Maybe distribution is king and content is crap. This is episode 31, the content-filled episode of Media Unplugged, the podcast that goes behind the spin to reveal what's really happening in media.
Media Unplugged with Tom Asacker and Mark Ramsey.
Welcome to Media Unplugged. I'm Mark Ramsey.
And I'm Tom Asacker.
Tom, maybe distribution is king. We used to think content was king, but maybe it's not content. Maybe it's distribution.
Maybe. This is the age of maybe.
This is the age of maybe, and we're talking about a piece called Grantland, about the topic of Grantland. This is from our friend Bob Lefsetz. I don't know if he's our friend, by the way. I'm actually kind of guessing he's not our friend. But
we're giving him a lot of attention. He should be our friend by now.
He should be our friend by now. Grantland, of course, the portion of the late and great portion of ESPN's digital platform, run by Bill Simmons. Bill Simmons late of ESPN, now with HBO. Bill Simmons leaves HBO. Grantland leaves HBO, or Grantland leaves ESPN soon after. And that's what this post is about. This is what Bob is talking about here. We can debate the financial viability of Grantland all day long, he says, but we cannot debate the fact that the site was synonymous with Bill Simmons, and without him, it's toast. Now, Tom, I think that, calling something toast when it is unambiguously evident that it no longer exists and thus is toast, that's kind of low-hanging analytical fruit. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, listen, I love, and you do too, Bob's stream of consciousness posts, I just find his interior dialogue fascinating because whatever's going on in his head, he just types it and hits, post or something.
Well, that's true. I think that's right. And that's why I think one of the difficulties that I have with Bob's stuff is that it is hard to read because he has a stream of consciousness writer. For example, this is my favorite part of this piece. But we love the cult of personality, but too often it's not deserved. But sometimes it is.
Well, it's, here's the funny thing. I often find myself agreeing with what he writes, but many times I have to stop and think about what is it exactly that I'm agreeing with.
That's right. Well, that's because in one piece, he makes a point, he disagrees with his own point, then he agrees with the disagreeability of his own point, and it ends up looping upon itself. And I think it's what you said to me once before. We were talking about a presentation you gave, and you said, this presentation has been given so many times, there's something in it for everyone. Everyone sees in it what they like. That's what Bob Lefsetz's pieces are. Everyone sees in it what they like. Yes, he is absolutely a genius. So here's some of the stuff he writes in this. ESPN thought it was pulling one over on Simmons by calling the site Grantland. Everybody knew it should be Simmons Land. Well, frankly, something tells me that wasn't.
As well.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly what ESPN had in mind. My guess is that ESPN was trying to build a platform bigger than Simmons alone, right. But okay. When the execs start believing they're bigger than the talent, you're in trouble. Okay, well, fair enough. I think it's fair to say ESPN actually is bigger than Bill Simmons, but that's a different matter. He talks about Apple. He says, where's Apple today? Did you notice they're giving a $50 discount on a watch if you buy an iPhone? Do you ever remember such a deal? His point is that Apple, without Steve Jobs, he actually writes this, without Steve Jobs, Apple is history.
They're toast too.
They're toast too. Now, where is Apple today? Well, let's see. Apple's profit at $11.1 billion for their fourth quarter, up 22% from last year is where they are today. But that's just today, Tom. The world runs on talent, and executives hate this. Nate Silver is talent, he says. The New York Times let him go. If he was still at the Gray Lady, he'd be the most important person in political reporting. At his own site, he's a sideshow. Now, again, Tom, Nate Silver hit his stride when people were voting.
I know.
When people cared about the outcome of votes. Right now, nobody's voting. I can assure you, when people start voting again, they're all going to be all over Nate Silver. So I think this point is a little bit off. Now, he does get, again, as he always does, to things which actually we can all believe in. Platform is everything, he says. If you're talent, know that platform is everything. If you're the executive, know that talent is never going to be manageable. So this is how he wraps it up. Distribution is king. If you can't see or hear it, it doesn't exist. Well, that's kind of...
That's a tree falls in the woods. Yeah.
That's an identity.
Yeah.
But distribution without talent is a complete failure. Talent first, never forget it. So distribution is king, but without talent, distribution doesn't matter. Talent in other language would be termed content, but distribute.
I told you.
The circular
it's
logic.
like a Zen koan. His stuff's a puzzle. You hear it and you say, yeah, but then you don't even know what you're saying yeah about. Look, does the world run on talent? Is talent the fuel of success, like he says? Absolutely. Talent, creativity, art is what changes culture. Culture is what moves people and drives the marketplace for anything and everything. But if your talent, as he says, is platform everything, are you history without reach? That's what he says. I don't know about that. Look, yes, we live in a very noisy world, but it's not impossible to gain people's attention, and you can keep it and live a rich and interesting life if you relentlessly appeal to people's desires in an interesting and valuable way. You know, I'm reminded, I don't know why this came to mind, because it has nothing to do with what he writes about, which is primarily, music and talent. But I'm reminded of that documentary movie, Hero Dreams of Sushi. You ever see that?
No, I didn't.
It's awesome. Anyway, it's about an 85-year-old sushi master and owner of a 10-seat sushi-only restaurant located in a Tokyo subway station, and his relentless pursuit of perfection with sushi. Now, by the way, he charges around $250 for a serving of sushi. And the place is full. So can you do the same thing, given this online environment and the ability to build your own platform or use free platforms like YouTube? Yeah. If you create something that turns people on and that they're compelled to continue to experience and to share with others, then you don't have to go out there and search for a platform. You can have a great life doing what you love to do, assuming that you can do something great. I mean, I don't know. This idea that platform is everything, of course it's not. I don't know. Now, distribution matters. I'll tell you why.
Distribution matters.
Let me tell you why,
ahead.
Mark, because this struck me as this was like a slapping, I don't know if it was water over the head slapping, I figured all the metaphors. Somebody emails me and says, I would like to grab a clip from one of your YouTube videos to use in a speech in an industry conference. So I say, okay, go ahead, whatever you want. It doesn't matter to me. So she says, which one should I use to best make my point? So I don't know.
Now you're consulting.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I go take a look at like what's on YouTube, different speeches, presentations that made it there that I've given. And now here's the thing. Most of the views of these videos, and it's me, they're all me talking the same way, maybe in the low thousands. Some are in the hundreds. But I look at my TEDx talk, and it's still me. It's just me doing my thing. It has 125,000 views. Now, I haven't seen them promote the video. So this is a demonstration of the power of platform and findability on that platform. Do you see? I mean, it's all about the platform as far as those numbers go.
Well, see, now you're talking about something a little bit different, because he's talking about distribution. You're talking about platform. And I don't think those are necessarily quite the same, right? Because technically, the platform you described has kind of the same distribution capability, right, as any other platform. It's just that it's part of this branded thing that people go to for certain reasons, looking for certain things, right. And it's got this cachet, right?
That's right, which makes it a source of distribution of things that people are looking for, right?
That's, I think, why, as I was reading this distribution is king, if you can't see it or hear it, it doesn't exist. This is where I think sometimes people get it wrong. Because the idea of distribution is not the same as the idea of potential distribution, right? The idea that, well, we're online, we're on YouTube, so we're distributed universally, Tom. We're available to all. We're available throughout the world at any time, right?
Yeah.
That's not the same. I mean, what is distribution, actually? I feel like distribution is kind of an agreement between people who have attention, an organization that has attention, and someone who's creating content to kind of focus that attention on that content. And the way TEDx does it is by saying, here is this repository of all this trustworthy, thoughtful, branded stuff.
That's exactly
that is going to be worth your time. It's different from saying, here's something that exists out on the long tail of YouTube. You may notice it, you may never notice it. So distribution alone is not. It's distribution alone is not what we're talking about. We're talking about kind of trusted distribution.
Yeah, trusted
distribution
attention. Exactly.
Trusted attention is what we're talking about. Right, which is why it's so wonderful, Tom, that our podcast, Media Unplugged, will soon be appearing on the American Marketing Association's platform.
Mark, look, and I think that's great because, look, here's the deal. He talked about all the noise in the marketplace, and there has always been a lot of noise, as far as I'm concerned, in every arena. I mean, there's a great line there's a boxing novel called The Professional, which was written by W.C. Hines. He's the writer of the novel MASH, which made it to film and the acclaimed TV series. And in it, he wrote, "The amateurs have always crowded the highways to everywhere, so it's never been easy for the pros to get through." He's right. It's up to the people with the platforms to recognize the pros and let them create their own brand of magic. That's the synergistic connection that makes everyone happy in this type of environment.
That's right. But I think even his Bob's request that we focus on talent first, never forget it. We need to recognize that even now in this area, the people who are the gatekeepers, there are still gatekeepers even now, right? There are still gatekeepers. I was reading the other day. I was watching, don't think less of me, but it was Halloween. I was watching several episodes of Friday the 13th. Okay. And here's what I discovered when I looked into Friday the 13th. Did you know that of all the horror film franchises, and you name them, Exorcist, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Chucky, Saw, Friday the 13th, arguably one of the least among those franchises, is the most profitable of all the franchises.
Wow.
Friday the Freddy Krueger, I don't care. Friday the 13th, the most derivative.
I know.
The most redundant, perhaps the most mediocre of all the franchises is the best. So remember that when you focus on the closing words of Bob Lefsetz's piece, talent first, never forget it. You're listening to Media Unplugged with Tom Asacker and Mark Ramsey. Tom, content is crap. This from a piece from Social Media Today. The title is, "What If Content Is Not King?" Here we get back to that again. And it opens by referencing an article from the Harvard Business Review by Greg Sittel. And here's how it opens. And this irritates me beyond words.
Sure it does.
We never call anything that's good content. Nobody walks out of a movie saying that they love and says, "Wow, what great content." Nobody listens to content on their way to work in the morning. Do you think anybody ever called Ernest Hemingway a content creator? If they did, I bet he would punch him in the nose. Well, come on, Greg. First of all, no, consumers don't use the term content. We business people use the term content because we're looking for a catch-all, a generic term that covers content in all its manifestations across all platforms. Of course, regular people don't use the term content. We're not stupid. So that was a little kind of an awkward start to the piece. But I actually thought it went uphill from there, Tom, because here's the nub of the argument. Here's what Greg writes. The problem is that content isn't king, content is crap. Why is it crap? Much of it is designed to grab attention, but fails to hold it. The problem is the content is not a long-form version of advertising, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. What about you?
Well, he reports in the article, I think he cites the Content and Marketing Institute that reported that although the majority of marketers have some kind of content marketing program, less than 40% of those marketers find the efforts effective. And so I thought about it. They didn't really go into what does that mean, effective.
Yeah, I have no idea what that. That's why I didn't mention it, because I have no idea what that means.
Does it mean the efforts are ineffective at creating awareness? Is it ineffective at generating interest in the company's products and services? Is it not moving the needle on sales? So what are they trying to get this content to do? And here's the thing that I think most content marketers are missing. Like we've mentioned on previous episodes, it's not like we don't have an abundance of options for how to entertain ourselves with various media and stories and storytelling, everything from podcasts to TV shows to Netflix to movies on demand, whatever it is. So if anyone's going to create anything that requires us to stop what we're doing and to invest some time and attention, if there's a clear and relevant connection to the brand and the content provides value to people, entertainment value, but maybe learning, maybe to learn how to use this piece of software, or social currency, something I can send to people so I can look smart or, up to date, hip. That could be effective, assuming that the value of the brand itself also comes across clearly and compellingly, right? Because if it doesn't, if I go, oh, this is wonderful, look at this, I love this content, it shows me how to do these exercises, and let me share it with my friends, and it's sponsored by some protein powder who I don't trust, that I don't think's any different, that's more expensive than anyone else, what good's the content?
Well, that's the challenge then, right? I mean, drawing that linkage is the challenge. Even Greg goes on to say good content needs to build an ongoing relationship between a company and its consumers. This is your point. It needs to be useful. It needs to tell stories. To get people to subscribe to a blog, a YouTube channel, or social media feed, you need to offer more than a catchy slogan or a clever stunt. You need to offer real value and offer it consistently. This is what you're arguing
but
right
beyond
here.
that, there has to be a connection to the value that the brand is trying to exchange with the audience beyond content. Look, I can have tens of thousands of people watching my videos, reading my newsletters and all that. If nobody picks up the phone or emails me to speak at an event or buy my book or anything, then what good is all this?
Well, and that's summed up at the bottom of the article. Sattel doesn't talk about this is because I'm listening to you saying, well, how in the world do you do that? Sattel doesn't talk about what will be necessary on a business-by-business level to make content marketing a success, which, of course, would be incredibly useful if he actually did say anything like that. But I believe, and now this is the author of this piece, I believe it will require a real investment in content creators. They'll need to be given the time and the skills they need to create real stories. They'll need the skills of journalists and directors. We're talking about skill set here, Tom. We're not even talking about what you're describing.
Nope. This is so misguided. We do not need to fill corporations with journalists and movie producers. What we need to do is strategically understand what this content is supposed to do and the connection it's supposed to make between what we're trying to sell and what people are trying to receive. And if you don't do that, I don't care what kind of content you have. It doesn't matter.
Well, okay, let's go down that path for just a moment, because let's talk about an illustration of what that might be like. Because I'm trying to get in my head, how do I, and I agree with you, by the way, but I find taking that conclusion to practice to be an immensely difficult process. And I know it's going to be different for every brand, right? But give me an example of how someone assesses that content marketing problem and puts it into practice in an effective manner.
Well, take for an example, people that do it right and wrong. I mean, so Red Bull says, okay, so we have this thing, it's an energy drink. It makes people feel great when they're doing extreme things, lifting weights, skiing, jumping off mountains, whatever. Hey, I know. What if we create all this content that really stirs these people, and we make the connection to our brand, which is you drink this little can and you do these extreme things and you get these feelings and you go wild. The connection is there, so that when people are reading this stuff and watching these videos and then they're walking through the store on the way to the gym, they automatically go, yeah, this makes sense. Pick up that can. I get it. But there's other...
The connection is really, you're saying the connection with the purpose of the brand and the goals of the brand and what the brand is trying to achieve in the marketplace is really kind of the central goal here, right?
Yeah, if you want it to go click whir in people's minds when they see the brand and experience the brand. Otherwise, what are you doing? You're just getting attention. And attention by itself is not going to sell products.
Again, what the writer here says, I believe it will require real investment in content creators. They'll need to be given time and skills. They need to create real stories. They'll need the skills of journalists and directors. Need to be given room to experiment and even to fail. And as I was reading this, I thought, well, good luck with that. Because that's never, ever going to happen. The idea that we're going to say, well, let's see if Mr. Spielberg available? I need to sell some soda right now. Tom, it's time for rants and raves. What do you have this week?
Oh, man, I don't know. I already just ranted on all this content creation. I feel bad now. But this is definitely a rant, and I'm not the only one doing it. This is not going to be a surprise for anyone, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. But you've heard about Starbucks creating this.
Oh, this was one of mine. So we're going to have a double rant on this.
So this whole outburst of media attention with the release of their 2015 holiday cup is just pushing me like right over the edge here. I mean,
me too.
Yeah. So Starbucks describes this thing as a two-toned ombre, which I had to look up ombre. I don't even know what the hell that means. Two-toned ombre design with a bright poppy color on top that shades into a darker cranberry below. So let me translate.
I thought it was a monochromatic red.
Yeah, so let me translate. It's a plain red paper cup, and it's got the green Starbucks logo on it. There's no reindeer, no snowflakes, no snowmen.
Right.
And believe it or not, because it doesn't have all these these little symbols, that has some people really pissed off. Because to them, it somehow illustrates Starbucks' dismissal of Christmas as a Christian holiday. Now, how in the world snowflakes and spruce trees signify the birth of Jesus of Nazareth is beyond me. But many are convinced that Starbucks has started a flat-out war on Christmas, right? So there's this Arizona-based evangelist. He posts on his Facebook page, which went viral, Starbucks removed Christmas from their cups because they hate Jesus. Now, I don't ever remember Jesus saying, take this cup and drink from it, but only if it's adorned with icicles and evergreens. And so I think we're losing it. I really do. And I'm telling you, in the video, this guy says, I went in, I asked for my coffee, they asked for my name, I told them my name is Merry Christmas. So I tricked them into putting Merry Christmas on my cup. Okay, clever guy. And Starbucks, they cleverly maintain that the cups are meant to be a blank canvas for customers to create their own stories, inspired by the doodles and designs that customers have drawn on their white cups for years. I mean, Jeff Fields, Starbucks Vice President of Design and Content, he said in a statement, in the past, we have told stories with our holiday cups designs. This year, we wanted to usher in the holidays with a purity of design that welcomes all of our stories. Now, the thing that really cracked me up, being the media hustler that he is, Donald Trump even chimes in on this thing.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he says, no more Merry Christmas at Starbucks, no more. Now, Starbucks is one of his tenants at Trump Tower in Manhattan. So Trump goes on to say, maybe we should boycott Starbucks. I don't know. Seriously, I don't care. By the way, that's the end of that lease. But who cares? Who cares? Who cares? And I say, exactly. Who the hell cares? Have a cup of coffee. Buy a homeless person a cup of coffee. And if you work in the media, stop giving these ridiculous people, including the Donald, the attention that they so desperately seek.
This is just unbelievable. I mean, when I read this, I highlighted that same Jeffrey Fields, this VP design and content, and he didn't write that stuff, by the way. Some marketing communications person wrote it. This year we wanted to usher in the holidays with a purity of design that welcomes all of our stories. We're talking about a monochromatic red cup
with a logo
just for the sake of argument, all right? Yeah, with a logo on it. By the way, the colors, when you combine the monochromatic red with the logo, we're talking red and green, yes, which is traditionally associated with certain holidays. I am excited about the prospect of changing my name to Merry Christmas. So if you change yours to Faith Popcorn, I'll change mine to Merry Christmas. What do you say?
Let's do it.
I did see, and this was in the Ad Age post, that one person had gotten countless thousands of retweets by adorning her red cup with the image of Jesus, who, from what I can tell, is wearing a spa robe. And in front of him is another guy. I don't even know where this guy pops up in the story. But he's either one of the disciples or Marvin Gaye. I'm not sure which. But then the capper was something else that's floating around, an image of a coffee cup, and around it is a sleeve. And on the sleeve is printed these words: "If coffee cups define your Christmas, honey, it's you who needs Jesus."
Exactly right.
So I have a second rant as well this week. And this is from a piece in Digital Next called, and this one just makes me nuts, "Why REI's hashtag opt outside is a model for the future of marketing."
Well,
now, you heard all about this, didn't you?
You know what? Remind me. This
is REI, the Outdoor Outfitters REI. They're doing the unthinkable. Black Friday this year, they will be closed. They have deemed it the holiest day in all of shopping, except for this year, because they're going to actually pay their employees to hashtag opt outside. And here the piece says, REI's much lauded decision is an example of what happens when a brand has a truly empathetic understanding of its customers, Tom, and uses that understanding to create experiences that customers value. REI's decision reflects its fundamental empathy for its customers who have zero desire to stand in line for the best deal on a gorgeous fall Friday. Now, Tom, the only people who have zero desire to stand in line on Black Friday are all the people who never stand in line on Black Friday. It turns out all the people who stand in line on Black Friday have a great desire to stand in line on Black Friday, hence the term Black Friday. And by the way, whenever you're going to do something good that reflects a central understanding of the needs of the consumer and an appreciation for your hardworking employees, it would be more authentic if you didn't precede it by the use of a hashtag.
Oh, we've just lost another potential sponsor for this podcast. We're losing them weekly.
I mean, how do people not keep falling for this? This is just clearly, they made some calculus at REI HQ that said, we will get more attention and more sales if we close on Black Friday and make a big hullabaloo over it that gets earned media than if we're open on Black Friday and get drowned by the noise of Black Friday from all the other merchants, including Amazon and the rest.
Cynical.
I mean, am I wrong?
You're so cynical.
Am I not right about that?
I would think so. I honestly think that the Starbucks thing was a whole scam too, but, who knows?
That's Media Unplugged for this week. Please remember to subscribe to us at iTunes or on Stitcher. And while you're there, please rate the show. It helps other folks discover us. And that, some people believe, is a good thing. You can also catch us at SoundCloud, Podcast One, Radio Inc., Media Village, and Net News Check. And coming soon, this is so exciting, Tom,
I'm excited,
to the American Marketing Association's blog and digital platform. You can follow Tom on Twitter at Tom Asacker and Mark at Mark Ramsey Media. Send us your questions and comments using hashtag Media Unplugged. If there's a media topic you want us to cover, you know what to do. Tweet us. You can read the show notes and share the show at our website, MediaUnplugged.net. Special thanks to the amazing producer of Media Unplugged, Jeff Schmidt. Exciting audio from media. You can find him at jeff-schmidt.com. For Tom Asacker, I'm Mark Ramsey. Thank you so much for listening.